Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the Self Knowledge course. Today, we are going to be having a lecture number 31st of our set of 50 lectures that comprises the phase A of this Self Knowledge course. And in today's topic, we are going to be talking about the mechanical creatures. So, today, we are going to discover why we are called to be mechanical creatures, and more importantly, how can we free ourselves from that condition, from that mechanicalness? Because the mechanical way of living is the one that keeps us reacting in the same predictable way to all life circumstances. It locks us into repeating the same habits, right? Having the same biases and prevent us, of course, from awakening our consciousness. So today's lecture is crucial because as long as we remain trapped in that mechanical behavior, acting only through that programming that our ego has in us, right? We'll never be able to awaken our consciousness. So let's begin today's lecture by asking what exactly is a mechanical creature? Why are we considered to be mechanical creatures? Well, a mechanical creature is like a machine, something that is not aware of itself, but instead it is operated or programmed by someone else, and therefore it acts according to that program. Now, if we take the time to observe ourselves during any normal day, we can notice how we fall into the same automatic routines, repeating the same actions, the same thoughts, the same emotions, the same inner states. We also notice how we react in the same way to the same circumstances over and over again, simply following the orders that our different eyes or psychological defects give us from moment to moment. And these psychological defects are constantly expressing themselves through our energy centers, right? So they drive our human machine and they dictate what we do and how we react. And we, without awareness, like unconscious puppets of our ego, without consciousness, just obey their programming. If we feel like crying, we cry. If we feel like arguing, we fight, right? So, it is important that we start self-observing, right? Think of a simple example. Every morning, when the alarm goes off, the program of laziness, of irritation is activated daily. We feel upset because we don't want to get out of bed. So automatically, what we do, we hit snooze, right? And this simple reaction then lead us to the same problems. Rushing, running late, arguments, and so on. Repeat it day after day. Or take weekends, for example, or holidays. Some people are programmed by loneliness and fall into sadness, right? They look for depressing movies or they dwell on memories of someone they've lost. Others are programmed by the urge to spend money, to go out and drink, to party, to stay hypnotized with all those pleasures of life. Or others stay hypnotized with, for example, endless series, shows, movies, and that is like a programming that they already have. And what about boredom? Every time we feel bored, the same program activates in us, and mechanically we look for distractions. Scrolling through social media, or turning on our television, checking our phones for notifications, or finding anything that keep us from facing the discomfort of being alone with ourselves. And again, the cycle repeats, seeking distraction instead of awareness. Each of our psychological defects program us to react unconsciously to every life circumstance. For instance, lust program us to respond with desire to any sexual image or any sexual situation, or in front of anyone who looks attractive or who dressed provocatively. We don't have the power to control our inner impulses, even though we have this personality that make us take this appearance that we are feeling nothing. Actually, we are programmed to feel that lasciviousness inside ourselves in front of those situations. Or, for example, greed. Greed programs us to react with fear at the thought of not having money or enough money, or with desire when there's a chance to get money easily, right? Even dishonestly. So the desire is there, it arises because it is a programming that we already have. And what about anger? Or what about pride? They program us to. If someone insults us or criticizes, we react as always, with violence or with fear, depending on the programming we have, right? If someone praises us, we feel happy without thinking. If they despise us, we feel sad or we feel offended again, mechanically, right? Anger makes us impatient, intolerant, tyrannical. Pride makes us sensitive to flattery or sensitive to offense, and that is mechanical. Then the most serious part of all this is that we usually don't even realize that situation. We live like machines without self control, without awareness, or we react in the same repetitive way, just following the ego's order, but we are not even aware of that. We believe that we are free. We believe that we are consciously, but the truth is we are not. Right? If you remember lesson 12 of this course, where we studied the laws of recurrence and return and recurrence, right? We saw how, because of that unconsciousness, this law operates, the law of recurrence, right? Operates across our different existences. It keeps us repeating the same actions, living through the same situations, meeting the same kind of people, falling into the same cycles, lifetime after lifetime. And this continues until we decide to work on ourselves, right? Until we decide to observe, to study, and to eliminate those psychological actors that are our psychological defects that keep us making the same mistakes again and again. Only then can we extract the true wisdom from those experiences. Now, in this topic that we are dealing with today, we must reflect that that very same law plays out in our daily lives moment by moment. Unconsciously, we keep repeating the same events and reacting the same way day after day. We repeat the same words, the same thoughts. We carry out all the time the same inner chatter, the same psychological songs. We feel the same desires. We perform the same actions. And we sink into the same inner states when we faced with the same circumstances. We are machines. If we pay attention to our daily routine, we are going to quickly discover this mechanicalness, right? We'll notice how our defects manifest in us from moment to moment, from the very moment we get out of bed, and they turn us into repetitive machines. The same resistance to doing what needs to be done, the same arguments with our partner, with our children, with our boss, the same gossipy at work, the same fear, the same dislike to certain people, day after day, moment after moment. So we can even notice in this situation in something as ordinary as going to the bathroom, right? How many times we have mechanically grabbed our cell phones before going to the bathroom, almost without thinking, just to scroll through social media, just to watch videos. And every time the urge to use the bathroom arises, the same program activates. And we carry our phones with us again and again, right? What about masturbation? For example, at a certain hour every day, the program of masturbation switches on, pushing us to look for pornography or to recall sexual scenes so that we give in and waste our available sexual energy mechanically and as always, right? So to discover, right, to uncover that mechanicalness in which we live, the essential tool here is self-observation, because this is a true, we're talking about this right now, And for you, this can sound like something logical. Yes, yeah, it is true. I think, yeah, we are so mechanical. But the important thing is that you discover this for yourself. That is the important thing, that you self observe and discover this. Because if we don't observe ourselves, we will never realize how repetitive our days truly are. This monotonous, mechanical way of living feels normal to us because we've grown used to it, right? These pattern are our behaviors we've either learned or we've created long ago, and unless we bring the light of self observation into our inner world, we will never discover that mechanicalness in which we are trapped. Our five physical senses allows us to perceive external things. But only one inner sense can help us self discover and awaken our consciousness, of course, and that is the sense of self observation that is symbolized by the third eye. So when we direct our attention inward, we begin to notice our mechanical reaction and then we can reflect. Why do I always do the same thing? Why do I always react impulsively? Why do I keep falling into the same biases, the same bad habits? Why? Why? Why we do so? Through self observation, we can catch the moment when a defect is about to take control of our machine and pushing us to react mechanically. And in that very instance, we can choose. We can choose differently because we're being aware. We can deny it. We can refuse to give in to that program, right? Self observation activates the conscious part of us. It keeps us rooted in the present moment, in the here and now. The only place where we can be conscious, the only time where consciousness can manifest in us. So, in this way, we learn to divide ourselves between the observer and the observed. Our consciousness can observe, is the observer, right, of all our internal states. It can observe every defect that tries to take control, that tries to force us to into mechanical reactions, right? And if we observe them, we can stop them. We can eliminate them, and by eliminating them, we can begin to break free from that mechanical condition. Let's say that someone is rude to us or insults us. Normally, we would instantly react with anger, with violence, or with fear, or with sadness. Everyone needs to discover their own programming, right? But it's the same as we always do. But if we are in that moment, in self observation, we can see that reaction arising up inside us, right? Before it takes over our human machine. And in that moment of awareness, we have a wonderful opportunity. We have the opportunity to observe ourselves and to transform ourselves. Because if we continue living our entire existence with the same mechanical way of thinking, with the same rigid concepts, the same closed beliefs, and always doing the same things over and over again, then no real change will ever be possible. There's a phrase often attributed to Albert Einstein that says, if you want different results, don't keep doing the same thing. Or uh, or insanity is doing the same thing again and again while expecting different results. So we need to start by reflecting honestly and recognizing that simple truth. We are not in self control. We don't govern our thoughts. Instead, we've been living mechanically, reacting to life according to the programming of our ego. We must observe and accept, right? That now we've been like puppets, dancing to whatever tune our defects play. We react with anger. We react with impatience when, for example, we are forced to wait, right? We react with laziness when we faced with obligations. We lie to uncover our mistakes over and over again. We grow anxious whenever we are caught in expectation and so on. But at some point, we must begin to yearn for something more, to long for freedom from this mechanicalness. and to have the courage to work consciously on ourselves in daily life so that we can stop being machine. Because if we continue to behave in the same way every day, any possibility of change will effectively be eliminated. So then, how can we stop being machines? That is the right question, right? So the first step, as you know, is self-observation. If we don't observe ourselves, we'll never discover who is truly driving our machine at any given moment. We'll keep repeating the same behaviors day after day, and any possibility of genuine change will disappear. But if we observe ourselves, we gain the ability to notice the defect that is pushing us to react in that or that way, and in that moment, we can turn inward and we can pray to our divine mother within. My mother, eliminate this defect from me. Remember that our inner mother is the love of our consciousness, right? This fire of our consciousness. As our father is the wisdom, is the light, our inner mother is the fire, is the love, is the force that has the power to transform us. So if we want to start becoming humans, real human beings, not more machines, not more zombie-like people. We must start self-observing, discovering that those programs, discovering those psychological defects, and eliminating them by begging, by activating that force in us, and we do so by begging her, my mother, eliminate from me this defect. And by doing this, by refusing to follow the impulses of our defect and instead allowing our consciousness to act freely, we will gradually stop being machines. We are going to start seeing the changes in yourselves, because each one of us carries within us a conscious essence, a part that is real, a part that is love, that is wisdom, that is power. But that consciousness can only begin to manifest in us if we break free from that mechanicalness. If we refuse to act under the programming, under the conditioning of our ego. And well, there are two simple exercises that we can begin to practice in order to breaking free from our mechanicalness. The first exercise is called daily retrospection. So it consists on every night before going to bed. We are going to take a moment to review our entire day in retrospection. From the very moment we sit there to, or we are laying down in our bed to the morning, right? We are going to take that moment to review our entire day, observing all the mechanical reactions we had. We can sit comfortably or laying down if you are not so tired to fall asleep. We are going to relax, and we are going to be mentally going back through our day, beginning from the moment that you are there doing the practice, and trace back step by step until the very moment you woke up that morning. And the purpose of this retrospection is to be careful, is to carefully observe everything you did, everything you said. You know, you're going to be reviewing all your actions, all your words, all your thoughts, all your desires during the day, in every situation. And you're going to be that effort to discover the psychological defects that were behind all those actions, word, reactions, emotions, etc., etc. Right? And you are going to realize by doing this practice that the very same defects tend to appear over and over again, leading you to act, to think, to feel in the same repetitive way. In this retrospection, you are going to see each event of your day clearly. You will notice how you act, what you said, what you thought, and what you desired. Right? Sorry. For example, you might realize by doing this practice that every night, for example, before going to sleep, you stay awake watching videos. You see how this habit robs you of rest, prevents you from achieving conscious astral projection, for example. Or you might notice other small details the many tendencies that show up in your emotions, your thoughts, your body, and even in your sexuality that keep you acting mechanically. With each discovery, what you're going to do? You're going to ask your divine mother to eliminate that conditioning. Or maybe you discover that, for example, at dinner with your family every night, the same old arguments play out again. The same patterns repeated night after night. In retrospection, you can clearly observe your reactions, anger, impatience, criticism. When you identify them, you can eliminate them. By making this daily retrospection, you can uncover all those defects that were active within you during the whole day. And as you were not in self-awareness, you were not able to discover at the very moment. Because yes, it is true, we must be aware from moment to moment. We need to work to be self-observing ourselves from the very moment we wake up and start eliminating all those psychological defects. But there is a reality. Our consciousness is 97% asleep. So we are going to miss a lot of things during the day. But if we take the time to do this retrospection, in that retrospection, we can discover all those defects that manifested in us during the day and that we weren't able to observe and to eliminate at that very moment, right? And that process will give you a powerful opportunity, not just to recognize your mechanicalness, but to decide to break it, right? For every defect, that you observe, you ask for its elimination, and you make a firm determination not to feed it ever again, not to react according to its programming, right? To its conditioning. And the next day, thanks to this practice, you are going to see that you will be already more awake, right? You will be more alert. You will be able to notice more details of the defects that constantly push you to feel, to think, to act in a certain way. You're going to be more aware of them. And in those very moments, you're going to have more capacity to observe them and in motion keep asking your divine mother to eliminate them, to be free and refuse to act as the defect wants. That is the key. So the idea is to do this exercise every single night. I can tell you by experience, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Actually, you feel at the next day how you're more aware. You can feel how you free yourself, because it is very good when you don't have to react, when you have self-control, when you can observe, when you can reflect, when you can refuse to do what you always do. And now you can have the opportunity, by eliminating those defects, to act with consciousness. Okay? And well, that is the first exercise. The second exercise is to radically transform one specific moment of your day. During your retrospection, you're going to discover, you may notice a recurring situation that feels especially strong, especially difficult to change, right? For instance, constant argument with your partner before bed, for example, or a stubborn by habit, or the recurrent tendency to expel the sexual energy through the sexual intercourse, whatever. You feel that that is like so hard. So what you're going to do, you're going to choose one of these situations and you are going to dedicate a reflective meditation to it. Remember that we started reflective meditation in lesson 22. If you haven't seen it, you can find it, the detailed explanation of reflective meditation here in the page or the channel if you're watching this through YouTube. And there you can find the lesson 22. And well, in meditation, we are going to relieve that situation step by step. We are going to observe in that situation all the defects that become active in that situation, whether emotional, mental, motor, instinctive, or sexual. One by one, we're going to study them, we're going to judge them, and we are going to be asking for them elimination. And this with the goal of transformation, of transforming that situation. And the purpose of doing this, of dedicating ourselves to transform one specific moment, is to reach that moment in daily life with total concentration and self-observation, without identifying with the defects and without reacting mechanically. We continue dedicating reflective meditations to that circumstance until we achieve complete understanding and we achieve complete transformation of that situation, until that bad habit, that vice, or that conflict that you are working on is finally dissolved. And you are going to notice that a single instant in which you are truly conscious and you voluntarily stop being a machine is enough. It's enough to radically change many unpleasant circumstances. This is how we begin to transform situations that may have burned us for years. This is how we've broken with those patterns. We break, sorry, with those patterns. This is how we can fix relationships, right? Because once we break with the mechanicalness, consciousness is free to manifest in us. And only consciousness can bring us true peace, authentic happiness, real love. So the invitation is for you to experience this. And well, to close this topic, I want to share with you two particular defects that represents a great obstacle when we try to stop being machines. So it is important to mention them so that we are aware of them and that we work on them. The first one is laziness. Laziness prevents us from making any change, right? And if we truly want to escape that mechanical state in which we are trapped, we must observe our laziness. Otherwise, laziness will constantly generate in us like that lack of courage, to do the work we must do, that lack of courage to self-observe, to practice the retrospection, to do those reflective meditations, because laziness always prevents us in laziness from doing what we have to do, and laziness always finds something more entertaining to do, right? It distracts us, it hypnotizes with all trivial things and keep us asleep. It pushes us to postpone inner work. It fills us with excuses, with justifications, and all of this happens with one purpose: to keep us from awakening our consciousness. So we continue being puppets of our ego, from that ego of that ego like that is constantly stealing our energy. So you can see that for inner work, for doing those exercises, you're going to be very lazy. But to go out, to be there on the cell phone scrolling on social media, to be on TikTok watching videos, you will have fire motivation. So we need to break with our laziness. And the second defect to work on is mythomania. Mythomania, as we talked in lecture number 23, where we explained in detail what fanaticism and mythomania are. Mythomania is very related to this situation because it is that inner tendency to believe our own lies, to justify our defects, and to convince ourselves that they are valued, that we are fine. And this defect blinds us. It doesn't allow us to judge ourselves honestly, and therefore mythomania blocks any change to be done in us. So, for instance, imagine the habit of smoking, right? That programming activates automatically throughout the day. We feel anxiety. We feel the urge to smoke after coffee. We feel the urge to take a break at work, to go outside and smoke again and again. Instead of observing and judging that defect, the mythomaniac I in us tells us it is not that bad anyway. I only smoke once in a while, so that's not that bad. And with that justification, we never work on that bad habit, and the slavery continues. Or think of how many of us are slaves to the cell phones nowadays. We mechanically check notifications all day long, browse endlessly, and if we forget the phones at home, we feel anxiety. right? But Mesomedia immediately jumps in to justify it. I need my phone for work. I don't spend that much time in the phone. My daughter does, but I don't. No. And so the mechanicalness continues. And if we don't consciously identify and eliminate laziness and mania, then this exercise we've shared with you will never bear fruit. Never. And we will remain for our entire existence condemned to be mechanical creatures. So the invitation, I think, is clear. Let's us decide here and now to observe ourselves. Let's begin breaking with our mechanical nature so that the conscious part within us can develop. Only then can we experience real changes. And well, with that, we close today's topic. We hope it has been useful and inspiring to you. And as always, we invite you to the next conference, Radical Change, the lecture number 32 of this self-knowledge course. This is a very important subject that will help us understand the significance of becoming aware of our inner multiplicity in order to achieve a true radical transformation within ourselves. And well, remember that if you have any question on today's topic, you can leave your questions down there in the comment and we are going to be solving all the questions you have there. And if you are not yet part of our WhatsApp or Telegram groups, here in the description of this video, you can find the links to the groups where we share every twice a week these lectures. Also, we share guided practices on these lectures and complementary written material on each of these topics. Remember that the self-knowledge course is completely for free. So feel free to join us and receive these self-knowledge lectures. And well, thank you very much to all of you who are there watching these conferences. Thank you for sharing them with others and see you the next time. Bye bye.